Ukraine and Russia share deep historical and cultural ties. For centuries, their paths were intertwined. Both nations trace their roots back to the East Slavic civilization. They share the legacy of Kievan Rus', a medieval state that flourished from the 9th to the 13th centuries. However, the relationship has been marked by periods of both cooperation and conflict. The 20th century saw Ukraine caught between Russia and Europe. After the fall of the Russian Empire, Ukraine briefly enjoyed independence. However, this was short-lived. Russia under the Bolsheviks sought to reassert control, leading to the Ukrainian War of Independence from 1917 to 1921. After its defeat, Ukraine was forced into the Soviet Union as the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic. The Soviet period brought further hardship. The Holodomor, a man-made famine engineered by Stalin's regime in the 1930s, devastated Ukraine. Millions died from starvation, a tragic chapter etched in the nation's memory. Despite the horrors endured, Ukrainian identity and language persevered. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 offered Ukraine a new chance for self-determination. Ukrainians overwhelmingly voted for independence in a referendum, marking a pivotal moment in their history. This event laid the foundation for the current conflict, as Russia never fully accepted Ukraine's separation. The current war did not erupt overnight. It is rooted in a complex web of historical grievances, geopolitical ambitions, and strategic calculations on the part of Russia. Following the Euromaidan Revolution in 2014, which saw the ousting of pro-Russian President Viktor Yanukovych, Russia illegally annexed the Crimean Peninsula. This was a blatant violation of international law, and a clear signal of Russia's willingness to use force to achieve its goals. Simultaneously, Russia fueled a separatist conflict in eastern Ukraine, providing military support to pro-Russian militants in the Donbas region. This marked the beginning of a low-intensity war that simmered for 8 years, claiming thousands of lives. Several factors motivated Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022. President Vladimir Putin's desire to restore Russia's sphere of influence and prevent Ukraine from aligning with the West played a significant role. Putin views Ukraine as an artificial construct, denying its right to exist as an independent nation. Furthermore, Russia's fear of NATO expansion eastward, coupled with its ambition to control strategically important territories, contributed to the decision to invade. The Kremlin calculated that a swift military victory would bring Ukraine back under its control and deter further Western encroachment. The world watched in disbelief as Russian forces launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine on February 24, 2022. The initial assault targeted key cities across the country, including the capital, Kyiv. The Kremlin expected a swift victory, believing that Ukrainian resistance would crumble quickly. However, the Ukrainian people demonstrated extraordinary courage and resilience. Ordinary citizens took up arms to defend their homeland, while the Ukrainian military, bolstered by Western support, mounted a fierce defense. The invasion, far from achieving a quick victory, became bogged down in a protracted and bloody conflict. The Battle of Kyiv became a symbol of Ukrainian resistance. Despite being heavily outnumbered and outgunned, Ukrainian forces, aided by territorial defense units and civilian volunteers, repelled the Russian advance. The capital remained unconquered, shattering Putin's hopes for a swift and decisive victory. As the conflict enters its third year, the battlefield dynamics have evolved. After the failed attempt to capture Kyiv, Russia shifted its focus to eastern and southern Ukraine. The Donbas region, with its predominantly Russian-speaking population, became a key battleground. Russia employed a strategy of attrition, relying on its superior firepower and manpower to grind down Ukrainian defenses. Intense fighting raged in cities like Mariupol, Severodonetsk, and Lysychansk, resulting in heavy casualties on both sides and widespread destruction. Despite facing a formidable opponent, Ukraine has demonstrated its ability to adapt and innovate. The use of drones, anti-tank missiles, and mobile artillery units has proven effective against Russian forces. Furthermore, Ukraine's intelligence capabilities and knowledge of the terrain have given them a tactical advantage. As the conflict intensified, various international actors began to play significant roles. Nations from across the globe, each with their own interests and agendas, started to intervene. Some provided military support, while others offered diplomatic assistance or humanitarian aid. These interventions, however, often complicated the situation further, adding layers of complexity to an already intricate conflict. The involvement of these international players not only influenced the course of the conflict but also had lasting impacts on global politics. In the end, it became clear that the conflict was not just a local issue, but a matter of international concern. In the thick of the conflict, military strategies evolved rapidly. Commanders on both sides had to adapt to the changing dynamics of warfare. They faced harsh battlefield realities, where every decision could mean the difference between victory and defeat. The strategies employed were as varied as the terrain itself, with each side striving to outmaneuver the other. The war left a trail of devastation in its wake. Cities were reduced to rubble, and countless lives were lost. Families were torn apart, and entire communities were displaced. The human cost was staggering, with the scars of conflict etched deeply into the hearts of those who survived. The toll was not just physical, but emotional and psychological, leaving an indelible mark on generations to come. As the war dragged on, the search for peace became ever more urgent. Diplomatic efforts were made, but the path to resolution was fraught with uncertainty. Both sides had to navigate a complex web of political, social, and economic factors. The question remained, could a lasting peace be achieved, or would the cycle of conflict continue? The future hung in the balance, with hope and despair intertwined. In the aftermath of the war, the world was forever changed. Borders were redrawn, and new nations emerged from the ashes of the old. The geopolitical landscape was reshaped, with power dynamics shifting in unexpected ways. The war had left an indelible mark on history, influencing the course of events for years to come. As the world moved forward, the lessons of the past remained a stark reminder of the costs of conflict.